All right, so today we are going to do a deep dive into Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, okay.
Now, a lot of you have requested that we unpack this book because
Mhm.
it's a very influential book.
Oh, yeah.
It's over 300 pages.
That's a lot of pages.
Yeah, it's a long book.
It is.
So we're going to unpack it, we're going to break it down
Good.
for you so you don't have to necessarily read all 300 pages but still get all the core ideas out of it.
Right.
Because this book is based on interviews that Napoleon Hill did with like 500 of the most successful people.
Yeah. Over 20 years of research went into that book.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool about Think and Grow Rich is that it was published in 1937.
Wow.
And it's almost 100 years old. But the principles in this book are so powerful.
Timeless.
They're timeless. They still apply today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons why it continues to be a bestseller today, almost 100 years later.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to dive deep into some of those timeless principles today
Yeah, absolutely.
and hopefully equip you with the tools to achieve your own success.
All right, well, let's kick it off with the story of Andrew Carnegie because he's kind of the catalyst for this whole book.
Right.
So Andrew Carnegie, like the steel magnate,
Yeah.
super rich guy.
Yeah, incredibly wealthy.
Yeah, and he basically entrusted Napoleon Hill with this secret to success, this formula that had been tested by thousands of people.
And Carnegie believed that everyone, no matter their background, could achieve success if they understood and applied this secret.
And that's why he tasked Hill with sharing this secret with the world.
Right, to make it accessible to everyone.
Exactly. Even those who, are super busy, don't have a lot of time, might not even want to read a book, to be honest.
Exactly.
But Hill lays out this formula in a very actionable way.
Absolutely.
So what's the secret? Is it hidden somewhere in the text? Is it like a code we have to crack?
Well, not really. Hill was very clear that the secret won't work unless you know exactly what you want.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the question is, do you know what you want?
Right, that's a great question.
And that's really the foundation of the book.
Yeah.
This idea that burning desire, that all-consuming passion, is the starting point for any achievement.
And Hill illustrates this point perfectly with the story of Edwin Barnes.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
So who was this guy?
Well, Edwin Barnes was this young man who desperately wanted to work with Thomas Edison, the famous inventor.
Not just for Edison.
Right, not as an employee.
He wanted to work with Edison?
Exactly. He wanted to be his partner.
Wow.
And Barnes's desire was so strong that he rode a freight train just to get to Edison's lab.
He rode a freight train.
Yeah, he had very little money, and he was determined to meet Edison.
That's intense.
It is, and when he finally got there, he didn't back down.
What did he say to Edison?
Well, he basically told Edison that he wouldn't leave until he had a chance to work with him.
Wow, that's bold.
It was, and you know what? Edison saw something in Barnes, this unwavering determination, this burning desire, and he gave him a chance.
So Barnes' intense desire actually opened the door for him.
It absolutely did. And he ended up exceeding everyone's expectations, proving that desire, fueled by action, can create incredible opportunities.
So it's not just about wishing for things, it's about wanting it so badly that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Exactly.
And that's what separates those who achieve success from those who simply dream about it.
Right, you have to have that fire in your belly, that relentless pursuit of your goals.
Okay, so that's the story of Edwin Barnes.
It's a great example of how burning desire can lead to extraordinary results.
But how does this translate to someone reading this book today in the 21st century?
Well, Hill's point is that this principle is timeless. It applies to any goal, any dream you have.
Whether it's starting a business, writing a book, running a marathon.
Absolutely. Anything you want to achieve in life starts with that burning desire.
And without it?
You're likely to give up when things get tough.
Right, because there will be obstacles, there will be setbacks.
There always are.
But that burning desire, that passion, is what fuels you to keep going.
Exactly. It's what gives you the strength to overcome those challenges and ultimately achieve your goals.
And it's not just about material success either.
Right. Hill also talks about achieving happiness and spiritual fulfillment.
He believed that understanding yourself and the laws of nature is crucial for living a truly successful and meaningful life.
It's about finding that balance between material wealth and inner peace.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's not just about chasing money. It's about aligning your actions with your values and finding fulfillment in all areas of your life.
Okay, so we've got this burning desire, but what about the fear of failure?
Ah, yes. Fear, the great saboteur.
It can be paralyzing.
It can be.
So what does Hill say about dealing with fear?
Well, he acknowledges that setbacks are inevitable.
everyone experiences failure at some point.
Absolutely, it's part of the journey.
And he tells this fascinating story about a man named Darby.
Oh yeah, Darby and his gold mine.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Darby was a man who was digging for gold, and he was convinced he was close to striking it rich.
He was so close.
He was, but after months of digging, he got discouraged and gave up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he sold his equipment to a junk man.
Really?
And you know what? The junk man hired an engineer who discovered that Darby had stopped digging just 3 feet away from a massive vein of gold.
No way.
Yeah, talk about bad timing.
Wow, so he was literally just a few feet away from his fortune.
He was, and that experience taught him a brutal but valuable lesson about persistence.
So what did Darby do after that?
Well, he didn't go back to digging for gold.
Mm.
He decided to apply the lesson he learned to a different field, insurance sales.
Oh, okay.
And he became incredibly successful.
So he didn't let that setback define him.
He didn't. He used it as fuel to achieve success in a different area of his life.
And that's the thing about failure, right?
It's not the end. It's an opportunity to learn and grow.
And sometimes it redirects us to a path that's even better suited for us.
Absolutely, it can be a blessing in disguise.
Now, Hill also shares this intriguing story about a little girl.
Oh yeah, the one who confronted his uncle.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Hill's uncle was known for his temper.
He sounds intimidating.
He was, and one day, this little girl approached him and demanded 50 cents for her mother.
She just walked right up to him and demanded money.
She did, and you know what? He gave it to her.
Really?
He did. He was completely taken aback by her unwavering conviction.
That's amazing.
It is. And Hill uses this story to introduce a concept he explores later in the book, the power of the subconscious mind.
Okay.
He suggests that the child's unwavering belief created a reality where even a grown man felt compelled to meet her demands.
It's like she tapped into some hidden power.
Exactly. And that's something Hill refers to as a strange power that we all possess.
So he's kind of setting the stage for a deeper exploration of the subconscious mind later in the book.
Right. He doesn't reveal all the cards at once, which keeps you engaged and wanting to learn more.
That's a great technique.
It is. And after this little detour, Hill gets down to business and lays out 6 specific steps to transform desire into its physical equivalent.
So this is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. This is how you take that burning desire and turn it into tangible results.
It's a blueprint for success.
It is.
Okay, so what are these 6 steps?
Well, the first step is to fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire.
Not just, I want to be rich.
Right, you need a specific number.
Okay, that makes sense.
The second step is to determine what you're willing to give in return for that money.
So it's about understanding that wealth is an exchange of value.
Exactly. You have to offer something in return.
Right, so what are your skills, your talents? What can you contribute to the world?
The third step is to set a definite date by which you intend to possess that money.
So it's about creating a timeline, a sense of urgency.
Right. It helps you stay focused and motivated.
The fourth step is to create a definite plan for achieving your desire and start taking action immediately.
Even if you don't feel ready.
It's about taking that first step.
Exactly. And the fifth step is to write it all down, the amount of money, the deadline, what you're giving in return, and your plan.
So it's about making it concrete, putting it on paper.
It solidifies your goal.
And finally, the sixth step is to read your written statement aloud twice a day, once before bed and once upon waking.
And as you read, visualize and feel yourself already in possession of that money.
So it's about programming your subconscious mind for success.
Exactly. It's about creating a belief that it's already yours.
These steps are powerful. They really lay out a clear path for achieving your goals.
They do, but it's important to remember that it's not just about following the steps mechanically.
Right, it's about embodying the principles behind them.
Absolutely. It's about developing the mindset of a successful person.
And that's where Hill's discussion of the subconscious mind comes in.
Right. It's one of the most fascinating aspects of his philosophy.
So how does the subconscious mind play a role in achieving success?
Well, Hill believed that our thoughts and beliefs have a powerful impact on our reality.
He was ahead of his time in that regard.
He was, and he argued that by understanding how the subconscious mind works, we can literally shape our own destinies.
So it's not just about positive thinking, it's about understanding the power of our thoughts to influence our reality.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we tap into the power of the subconscious mind?
Well, Hill believed that repetition and visualization are key.
And that's where his invisible cabinet comes in.
Ah, yes, his imaginary board of advisors.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Hill would visualize himself meeting with a group of historical figures he admired, people like Thomas Edison, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Henry Ford.
Wow, that's an impressive group.
It is, and he would seek their guidance and advice on various challenges and decisions he faced.
So it's like having a personal mastermind group, even if they're not physically present.
Exactly.
That's a powerful concept.
It is, and it highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with positive influences, even if it's just in your mind.
And it ties back to that story of the little girl who confronted Hill's uncle.
Right, because by believing so strongly in her demand, she unknowingly influenced his actions.
It's like she tapped into the power of her subconscious mind to create a reality where he felt compelled to give her what she wanted.
Exactly, and that's the power of belief.
Okay, so we've got this burning desire. We understand the power of the subconscious mind.
Right.
But how do we actually define what we want, what our goals are?
That's where the concept of a definite chief aim comes in.
Okay, what is that?
It's basically your overarching goal, your life's purpose.
It's the compass that guides all your actions.
Exactly. And Hill believed that without a definite chief aim, you're likely to drift aimlessly through life, never truly fulfilling your potential.
So it's about having a clear vision for your life, understanding what you want to achieve, and then aligning your thoughts, actions, and decisions with that purpose.
Exactly. And to achieve this definite chief aim, Hill introduces the concept of autosuggestion,
Okay.
which is essentially planting seeds in your mind through repeated, emotionally charged thoughts.
So it's about consciously choosing the thoughts we feed our minds.
Right, because our thoughts create our reality.
And that's where affirmations come in.
Exactly. Affirmations are a powerful tool for reprogramming our subconscious minds and aligning our beliefs with our goals.
So it's about replacing negative self-talk with positive statements that support our definite chief aim.
Right, and by consistently feeding our minds with these positive thoughts, we can literally shape our reality.
That's a powerful concept.
It is, and it's something we can all do, regardless of our circumstances.
Okay, so we've got this burning desire. We've defined our definite chief aim.
Right.
But what about the people around us? How do they influence our success?
That's where the mastermind principle comes in.
Okay, can you explain that a little bit?
So the mastermind principle is about harnessing the power of collaboration.
It's about surrounding yourself with the right people.
Exactly. People who support your goals, inspire you, and challenge you to grow.
And Hill believed that this principle was essential for achieving great things.
He did. He even used it himself with his invisible cabinet.
And we see it in action with successful people throughout history.
Right. Think of people like Henry Ford.
Who surrounded himself with brilliant minds like Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, John Burroughs, and Luther Burbank.
Exactly. These were deep, meaningful relationships that fostered collaboration and innovation.
So it's not just about networking, it's about forming genuine connections with people who can help you grow and achieve your goals.
Absolutely. It's about creating a synergy of knowledge and effort.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
Burning desire, definiteness of purpose, the mastermind principle, the power of the subconscious mind.
It's a lot to process.
It is, but it's all incredibly important for understanding the core message of think and grow rich.
And it's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in this book.
Absolutely, but before we go any further, we need to take a break.
All right.
When we come back, we'll delve into Hill's insights on overcoming fear, guarding ourselves against negative influences, and much more.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. So, before the break, we were talking about fear
Oh,
and how it can hold us back.
absolutely.
And Hill identifies 6 basic fears
6 basic fears.
that can really sabotage our success.
Yeah, they can really get in the way.
So let's start with the fear of poverty.
Okay.
What's interesting is that Hill doesn't just see poverty as a lack of money.
Right.
He calls it a state of mind.
The state of mind.
So what does he mean by that?
Well, he's not denying the very real struggles of financial hardship, of course.
Right.
But he's saying that our mindset around money can either empower us or trap us in a cycle of scarcity.
It's like whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
So how does this fear of poverty manifest?
Well, Hill describes it as this insidious force that can really cripple our potential. He writes that it kills self-reliance, invites failure, and even makes people susceptible to questionable schemes.
Oh, yeah, those get-rich-quick schemes.
Exactly, those promises of easy money that often lead to even more financial hardship.
And this was especially relevant during the Great Depression when Think and Grow Rich was first published.
Oh, absolutely.
People were desperate.
They were, and the fear of poverty was palpable.
It affected everyone.
It did. And Hill even quotes a journalist, Westbrook Pegler, who talks about how this fear can crush someone's spirit, regardless of their talents or intelligence.
So it's not just a financial state, it's an emotional and psychological one as well.
Right. It can really weigh you down.
So how do we break free from this fear of poverty?
Well, Hill suggests developing what he calls a money consciousness.
A money consciousness.
It's not about greed or material obsession. It's about shifting our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance.
So believing that there's enough for everyone.
Exactly, and believing in our own potential to create wealth.
And he also encourages us to study those who have accumulated wealth.
Right, not to imitate them blindly,
Of course.
but to learn from their mindset and strategies.
To see how they think about money.
Exactly.
To see how they overcome financial challenges.
And he tells this great story about a young man who buys a recipe for making soap.
The old kettle story.
That's the one.
And this recipe turns out to be incredibly valuable.
It does. He ends up building a multi-million-dollar business from it. Yeah. But what's interesting is that the young man wasn't just buying a formula. He was buying an idea, a possibility.
And he combined that idea with something that the seller didn't have.
What was that?
Belief.
Belief.
He believed in the potential of that idea.
He did, and he backed it up with action.
He didn't just sit on the recipe.
Nope, he put it to work.
And that's what it takes to overcome the fear of poverty.
Absolutely. You have to believe in your ability to create wealth.
And then take action.
Take action.
Okay, let's move on to the next fear.
Right.
The fear of criticism.
Oh, this is a big one.
It is. It's something we can all relate to.
Everyone's afraid of being judged.
Exactly. And Hill calls it one of the most common and debilitating feels.
It can really hold you back.
It can prevent us from taking risks, speaking our minds, or pursuing the things that truly matter to us.
Because we're so worried about what other people will think.
And Hill goes as far as to say that this fear can crush ambition, erode self-reliance, and smother the desire to achieve.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is, and he even points out that many people make life choices based on the fear of what others might think.
Well, yeah, like choosing a career path they're not passionate about.
Or staying in a relationship that's no longer serving them.
Just because they're afraid of what people will say.
And what's even more insidious is that this fear often comes from those closest to us.
Our families, our friends.
The people who are supposed to support us.
And sometimes they do, but sometimes they unintentionally reinforce our fears and doubts.
It's like they're projecting their own fears onto us.
It can happen.
So how do we deal with this fear of criticism?
Well, Hill suggests cultivating a strong sense of self-belief.
Self-belief.
It's about recognizing our inherent worth,
And trusting our own judgment.
even when it differs from the opinions of others.
So it's about tuning out the noise.
In a way. Yeah.
And focusing on what truly matters to us.
Exactly.
And Hill also points out that criticism is inevitable
especially when you're doing something different.
when you're stepping outside the box.
Exactly.
But instead of letting it paralyze you, he encourages us to view it as an opportunity for growth and refinement,
to learn from it.
and to use it to make our ideas even better.
He even points out that many of history's most successful individuals faced immense criticism and rejection.
Oh, yeah, like Thomas Edison.
Who was told his ideas were crazy.
And Henry Ford.
Who revolutionized the automobile industry despite facing countless doubters.
And even figures like King Edward VIII.
Who abdicated the throne to marry the woman he loved.
They all dared to be different.
And they faced a lot of backlash for it.
But they didn't let it stop them.
They stayed true to themselves.
And they made a significant impact on the world.
And that's what Hill wants us to remember. That criticism often comes with the territory when you're doing something meaningful.
So don't let it hold you back.
Embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward.
Okay, let's move on to the next fear.
Right.
The fear of ill health.
This is a tough one.
It is, because it's rooted in a very real desire to avoid pain and suffering.
We all want to be healthy.
Of course, and we're constantly bombarded with messages about potential health threats.
From the news, from advertisements, from social media.
It's easy to get caught up in a cycle of worry and anxiety about our physical well-being.
It is. But Hill argues that constantly dwelling on the fear of illness can actually make us more susceptible to disease.
It's like we're inviting it in with our negative thoughts.
Exactly. He points out that fear weakens our immune system and creates a negative mental state that attracts illness.
It can even lead to psychosomatic symptoms.
Where our minds create physical ailments.
And Hill quotes a physician who estimated that 75% of people seeking medical care are suffering from hypochondria.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of people.
It is, and it highlights how powerful our thoughts can be, especially when it comes to our health.
So what's the solution?
Well, Hill emphasizes the importance of positive thinking.
Right.
He encourages us to cultivate a mindset of well-being
To focus on health and vitality.
rather than obsessing over potential illnesses.
Right. To shift our focus from fear to resilience.
And he also stresses the importance of healthy habits.
Of course, taking care of our bodies.
Things like exercise, getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, managing stress levels.
All of that plays a role.
It's about taking a holistic approach to health
Recognizing the connection between our minds and bodies.
and understanding that our thoughts and beliefs can either support or sabotage our physical well-being.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
Right. It's also about taking action to support our health.
Okay, let's move on to the next fear.
The fear of loss of love.
Oh, this one can be really painful.
It is, because it strikes at the core of our human need for connection and belonging.
We all want to feel loved and accepted.
And this fear can manifest in many different forms.
Like the fear of rejection,
abandonment,
jealousy,
possessiveness,
or even just a general feeling of unworthiness when it comes to love.
and it can lead us to sabotage relationships.
Or push people away.
Or cling desperately to those we fear losing.
It can really mess things up.
It can. And Hill believes that this fear often stems from a lack of self-love. When we don't believe we're worthy of love and affection, we tend to project those insecurities onto others.
And that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. So how do we overcome this fear?
Well, Hill encourages us to cultivate a strong sense of self-worth.
To recognize that we are inherently lovable.
And deserving of love, regardless of external validation.
It's about embracing our imperfections.
And loving ourselves unconditionally,
He also stresses the importance of giving love freely.
without expecting anything in return.
Because when we focus on giving, we create a more positive and fulfilling dynamic in our relationships.
It shifts our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance.
And it makes us less likely to be consumed by the fear of loss.
Okay, what's the next fear on the list?
The fear of old age.
Oh yeah, this is a big one in our society.
It is. We're constantly bombarded with messages that equate youth with beauty and vitality.
And aging with decline and irrelevance.
It's like we're supposed to dread getting older.
But Hill challenges this notion.
He does.
He argues that aging is not necessarily a decline.
But a natural and beautiful process of growth
Wisdom,
and continued learning.
he encourages us to redefine our perceptions of aging.
To view it not as an ending,
And as a new chapter.
full of possibilities and opportunities.
He even gives examples of people who achieved great things later in life.
Like Marie Dressler
Who became a successful actress in her 60s.
and Eddie Cantor.
Who rebuilt his career after losing his fortune in the stock market crash.
They refuse to let age define their limitations.
And they proved that it's never too late to pursue your passions.
And Hill encourages us to embrace aging.
To see it as a time for reflection
Wisdom.
and new adventures.
He reminds us that age is just a number.
And that our potential for growth and fulfillment continues throughout our lives.
Okay, and finally, we come to the fear of death.
The ultimate fear.
It is the fear of the unknown.
The cessation of our existence.
The loss of everything we know and love.
It's a fear that can be incredibly paralyzing.
It can prevent us from living fully in the present moment.
Because we're so focused on what might happen after we die.
So how does Hill address this fear?
Well, he acknowledges the reality of it,
Of course.
but he argues that much of the anxiety surrounding death stems from religious dogma and superstition. He encourages us to approach the subject with rationality.
To recognize that ultimately no one knows for certain what happens after we die,
And he reminds us that we are all part of a larger cycle of life and death.
that our physical bodies are merely vessels for our spirits,
And that by focusing on living a meaningful life in the present moment
contributing to the world,
and leaving a positive legacy.
we can transcend the fear of death.
He even suggests that by embracing the inevitability of death
We can paradoxically live more fully.
and appreciate each moment as a precious gift,
It's about shifting our focus from fear and anxiety.
to gratitude and appreciation for the gift of life.
So those are the 6 basic fears that Hill identifies.
Poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
And he doesn't offer easy solutions.
No, but he empowers us to confront these fears head on
To challenge our limiting beliefs.
and to cultivate a mindset of courage and resilience.
His message is that fear is a natural part of the human experience.
But it doesn't have to control our lives.
By understanding the nature of fear and developing strategies to manage it.
We can free ourselves to pursue our dreams and live fulfilling lives.
Now, in addition to these 6 basic fears,
Right.
Hill also talks about another obstacle that can derail our progress.
What's that?
Susceptibility to negative influences.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
It is. It's like a subtle but potent virus.
That can infect our minds and sabotage our best intentions.
And it's all around us.
Negative news,
Pessimistic people.
limiting beliefs.
Self-sabotaging thoughts.
It's everywhere.
And Hill argues that successful people are highly attuned to this danger.
They are. They take proactive steps to protect themselves from negativity,
They understand that their environment plays a crucial role in their success.
both internal and external.
So what are some of the things we can do to guard ourselves against negative influences?
Well, Hill emphasizes the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive and uplifting people.
People who believe in us
Encourage us.
and inspire us to be our best selves.
He also suggests limiting exposure to negative news and media,
It's easy to get caught up in that cycle of fear and anxiety
especially in today's world with 247 news cycles.
and social media,
It's important to be mindful of what we consume,
and to choose sources that uplift and inspire us.
rather than drain our energy and fuel our fears.
Hill also stresses the importance of monitoring our own thoughts
To become aware of those negative thought patterns,
and replace them with affirmations that align with our goals and values.
it's about taking control of our inner dialogue.
And this connects back to Hill's discussion of the subconscious mind.
Right.
He argues that our subconscious is like a fertile garden.
And the thoughts we plant in it will eventually grow and bear fruit.
So we need to weed out those negative thoughts.
And plant positive ones.
And Hill even provides a list of 30 questions for self-analysis.
Oh yeah, those are really helpful.
They are. They challenge us to examine our beliefs, our habits, and our relationships.
To see if they're aligned with our goals and values.
It's a great exercise for personal growth.
And it reminds us that personal growth is an ongoing journey.
It's a process of continual self-discovery and refinement.
So we're constantly evolving
And learning.
and growing.
And that's what makes life so exciting.
It is. There's always something new to discover.
All right, so we've talked about overcoming fear
Guarding ourselves against negative influences.
and the importance of cultivating a positive mindset.
But how do we actually put all this into practice?
That's where Hill's 6 steps to achieving success come in.
Right. Those steps provide a practical roadmap for turning desires into tangible results.
They bridge the gap between thinking and doing.
Dreaming and achieving.
So let's revisit those steps.
Right.
The first step is to fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire.
A specific number.
Hill believed that by defining your financial goals precisely, you create a stronger pull towards achieving them,
And he encourages us to write down this goal and review it regularly.
to keep it at the forefront of our minds.
The second step is to determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire.
So, what value are you offering to the world?
Exactly. He'll believe that wealth is earned through service and contribution,
It's about identifying your unique talents and skills.
and finding ways to use them to create value for others.
The third step is to establish a definite date by which you intend to possess the money you desire.
So creating a timeline,
It's about cultivating a sense of urgency and focus.
holding yourself accountable.
The fourth step is to create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once.
Whether you are ready or not,
It's about taking action.
even if you don't feel completely prepared,
The fifth step is to write out a clear, concise statement of your goal.
including the amount of money, the deadline, what you're giving in return, and your detailed plan,
It's about making it tangible.
putting it on paper.
And finally, the sixth step is to read your written statement aloud twice a day.
Once before bed and once upon waking.
And as you read, visualize and feel yourself already in possession of the money.
It's about programming your subconscious mind for success.
So those are the 6 steps.
They're simple, but they're not easy.
They require commitment
Discipline.
and a willingness to challenge your limiting beliefs.
But if you're willing to put in the work,
And follow these steps consistently.
you can achieve anything you set your mind to.
Hill's message is that success is not a matter of luck or chance.
It's about taking deliberate action
Cultivating a positive mindset.
and harnessing the power of your thoughts.
And he reminds us that the journey to success is rarely a straight line.
There will be setbacks, but by embracing Hill's principles,
Of persistence, self-belief, and burning desire,
you can overcome any obstacle.
and create a life of abundance and fulfillment. Now, before we move on to the next section, I want to touch on one more crucial concept:
What's that?
definiteness of purpose.
Ah, yes, the starting point of all achievement.
Hill considered this to be absolutely essential.
He did. He said that without a clear and definite purpose, you're like a ship without a rudder
Destined to drift aimlessly.
and never reach your full potential.
So it's about having a vision for your life
Understanding what you want to achieve.
and then aligning your thoughts, actions, and decisions with that purpose.
It gives you direction
Focus.
and motivation.
And this is where Hill's discussion of decision-making comes in.
Okay.
He stresses the importance of developing the habit of making clear and decisive choices.
He believed that indecision is a form of fear.
That can paralyze us and prevent us from taking action
So we need to cultivate the courage to make decisions,
and to stand by them.
even when faced with doubt or opposition.
He uses the example of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh yeah, those guys were brave.
They risked their lives to declare their independence from British rule.
It was a bold act of courage.
And a testament to the power of a definite purpose.
And Hill argues that each of us must make our own Declaration of Independence.
A commitment to live a life of purpose.
And to pursue our dreams with unwavering determination.
He reminds us that we have the power to choose our destiny.
And that the starting point is a clear and definite purpose.
Now, this brings us to one of the most powerful and perhaps controversial concepts in Think and Grow Rich.
What's that?
The idea of sexual transmutation.
Oh yeah, this one's a bit out there.
It is, and it's important to understand the context in which Hill was writing.
He was writing in the
It's a
1930s.
very different time.
But Hill believed that sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. And that it can be harnessed and redirected towards creative and productive endeavors.
So instead of expressing that energy physically,
To just channeling it into other areas of life.
like work, art, or personal development.
Exactly. And he believed that by doing so, you can achieve extraordinary results.
This concept has been both praised and criticized over the years,
It has. Some people view it as a powerful tool for self-mastery.
while others dismiss it as outdated or even potentially harmful.
But regardless of your personal views on sexual transmutation,
It's clear that Hill believed that our thoughts and desires have a profound impact on our reality.
and that by learning to control and direct our energy.
We can achieve amazing things. Now, before we wrap up this section,
Okay.
I want to revisit the story of Napoleon Hill's invisible counselors.
Oh yeah, his imaginary mastermind group.
It's such a fascinating concept.
It is.
So to recap, Hill would visualize himself meeting with a group of historical figures he admired.
People like Thomas Edison, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry Ford.
And he would seek their guidance and wisdom.
It's a powerful example of the power of visualization.
And the ability to connect with mentors, even if they're not physically present,
It's about expanding our circle of influence.
and tapping into the wisdom of the ages.
We can learn from anyone.
Even those who are no longer with us.
Exactly.
And this brings us to the end of our discussion on overcoming fear and guarding ourselves against negative influences.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but there's still so much more to explore in Think and Grow Rich.
And I'm excited to dive into the next section.
Me too! But first, we need to take another quick break.
Right.
When we come back, we'll delve into Hill's insights on organized planning, the sixth sense, and much more.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we've talked about burning desire, we've faced our fears, we've even dipped our toes into the subconscious mind.
Right.
But how do we actually get things done? How do we move from thinking about success to actually achieving it?
Well, that's where organized planning comes in.
So it's not enough to just dream big.
No, you need a plan. You need structure. And Hill really stresses this. He even dedicates a whole chapter to it. He uses this example of Charles M. Schwab.
Schwab, the skull guy.
Yeah, the guy who basically convinced J.P. Morgan to create U.S. Steel.
Whoa, so we're talking big leagues here.
Oh yeah, massive undertaking. But Hill's point is, even for something as huge as building a corporation, organized planning was crucial.
So what did Schwab do? Did he, just have a brilliant idea and wing it?
Not at all. He had all these figures, all this data showing the value of each steel company he wanted to merge. He presented his vision to Morgan with, total confidence and belief. And it worked. That vision became U.S. Steel, worth something like $600 million back then.
$600 million back then.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of money. But okay, so organized planning, even for giant corporations, got it. But how does that apply to us regular folks?
Well, Hill gives these 11 specific instructions for personal success planning. We don't have to go through all of them, but basically they're about taking action, like figuring out what you need to learn, who you need to connect with, and then actually doing it.
So it's not just a to-do list, it's more strategic.
Exactly. And remember the mastermind principle. Collaboration is key here, too. You need the right people around you.
Makes sense. Two heads are better than one and all that.
More than that, it's about finding people who share your vision, who challenge you, but also support you. It's about trust. Hill's invisible cabinet, remember? He wasn't just daydreaming. He was actively seeking wisdom and guidance, even if it was in his imagination.
Okay, so organized planning, mastermind, got it. What else?
Now this is where things get a bit, well, a bit woo-woo, you could say. Hill talks about the sixth sense.
The sixth sense? Like seeing dead people, what's that got to do with success?
Not exactly. He describes it as this, well, a mixture of the mental and the spiritual. Like a point where your mind connects with something bigger, something beyond logic.
You mean like intuition, gut feelings?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He even mentions experiments on telepathy and stuff like that, suggesting there's more to our minds than we know.
So are you saying we need to become psychics to be successful?
No, not quite. But he's saying that developing your intuition, that ability to just sense opportunities, can be incredibly powerful.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we develop this sixth sense?
Hill believed it comes through things like meditation, paying attention to your gut feelings, trusting those flashes of inspiration.
So it's about quieting the mind, being more aware.
Interesting.
Right. Now, before we wrap up Think and Grow Rich, there's this one more thing I want to touch on. Hill talks a lot about America, about opportunity, and taking ownership of your success.
This was during the Great Depression, right? Things were pretty bleak.
Exactly. But Hill was adamant that America offered incredible freedom and opportunity. He even points out all these, everyday things people had access to, things we might take for granted today.
Like what?
Well, like cars, radios, even just the abundance of food. He's saying, hey, even in tough times, look at what we have.
But he wasn't, ignoring the problems, was he?
No, not at all. He acknowledged the struggles, but he really emphasized this proactive mindset. He's like, okay, things are tough, but you got to see the opportunities, use your skills, work hard, and take responsibility for your own success.
It's a powerful message, really. It's about having that can-do spirit. Exactly. And it's relevant even today. We face different challenges, but the core message is the same. Take ownership of your life, your success. Don't wait for things to happen. Make them happen.
I love that. Think and grow rich. It's not just about getting rich, it's about a mindset, a way of approaching life.
Absolutely. It's about believing in yourself, taking action, and never giving up on your dreams.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, I want to leave you with this. Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
It's about harnessing the power of your mind to create the life you want.
So what are your burning desires? What are you going to achieve? Think about it, plan for it, and then go make it happen.
And remember, the journey to success is ongoing. It's about growth, learning, and constantly striving to be better.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.